So this photo right here will end up being the defining moment in the Trump presidency. You have people falling down in the Oval Office, and Trump's off in Delulu land without a care in the world. And we watched this clip yesterday, and you guys probably already saw it, and it still doesn't seem real. You're just like, what the heck is going on? It's like this every day with the Trump presidency. It just doesn't feel real. It's the South Park SNL timeline. It's more wackier and crazier every single day, right? And then these are the headlines. Guest collapses near Trump during Oval Office weight loss drug event. Okay. And then the big news today, and there's a lot of news to go over, is that we're not getting any data, right? U.S. employment report will not be published again as government shutdown drags on. Now, we already had a feeling this was going to happen. No report. Will we get any government data next month? Your guess is as good as mine. Honestly, at this point, your guess is as good as mine, because essentially the Trump people, when the numbers are bad, Trump will fire whoever. Oh, you told the public how bad unemployment numbers are. You're fired, right? And now we're just not releasing any numbers. The government is in day 37 now. I'm looking at this, 37 days of a shutdown. 37 days. This is a record, right? The previous record was 35, also by Trump. Now we're at 37, probably 38. I'll say this. I mentioned before in the last video, I think Thanksgiving is the next deadline that we're watching. Will we let the country fall apart during the holiday season? Will we just then close everything, go back on, vacation, I guess, through Thanksgiving, Christmas, and then come back in January and maybe try to work out something? Is that the plan? I mean, it's starting to feel like that. I mean, we'll see. Like I said, I think Thanksgiving is the deadline. But if you're the Trumpers, you don't release any data, so we don't know official numbers, and then so you get private data talking about jobs. And this was the headline, yesterday. Job cuts in October hit the highest level for the month in 22 years. It's bad. I mean, it's bad that they're falling down. That's why I bring this up again. And while that's going on, we're now watching how bad is the shutdown going to be for our airports, for our transportation, right? They just announced that there's going to be 10% reduction in capacity. It didn't seem like it was planned whatsoever. They didn't really release a list till recently of 40 airports. Turns out it's basically just our 40th busiest airports. That's basically what it ends up being. And the major airlines then are scrambling to deal with customer service. Just imagine this, right? You got something planned because holidays are coming up and you're thinking, okay, is it even safe to fly? So my personal opinion is no. That's just my opinion. Everyone's gonna have a different opinion on that. You got to do what makes sense for you. But I'll just say this. I think there's gonna be a lot of people who are gonna be canceling, which I think is a very reasonable thing to do, right? Any number of things. There's some people who have to go for different reasons, for work. You have some sort of family commitment, just like, some sort of event that you can't miss, any number of things. And the issue is, though, like I mentioned before with, say, the cancellations, is you're going to have a lot of missed business, right? So you have job cuts, you got cancellations, you got missed business, you have a lot of upset people, which is definitely going to happen. And then we're literally watching, like, how bad is the train wreck going to be? That's what all the headlines are right now, right? As hours dwindled before flight cuts, the government was publicly mum. Great. Don't say anything. Don't lead us. I mean, I guess you got two choices. One is with the Trump administration. One is they lead you, to disaster, or they don't say anything and then we fall into disaster. I mean, is where we're at. So now we're looking at maps and we're watching, like, how bad is this thing going to get? There was a recent poll talking about our current economic situation. And this was really interesting. It says, what a poll of 9,000 adults reveals about aging in America. Long story short, people don't feel comfortable with their financial situation. I don't think this is shocking news, but how bad is it going to get? I guess that's the overriding story of everything right now, be it the markets, be it the economy, the Trump administration. How bad is it going to get? 4 in 10 aren't confident they have enough money, right? This was a survey of adults. How do you feel? 4 in 10 are not confident they have enough money. And one of the things that really breaks down, really obviously, they break it down by income. They consider low income under 50, that's like 55,000, mid income between 55 and 155, and then high upper income that they say here is above 155. And essentially what the data says, and you can go through all these things if you like, but the data basically says if you have more money, you live a more comfortable life in the USA. And it's in a lot of different ways that isn't necessarily the case in every country in the world. So for example, does having enough money, or well, more money, we'll put it that way, because I mean, defining enough is a tough thing in this market. It feels like it's never enough. But should having more money, should that determine whether or not you see your friends, whether or not you're mentally healthy, right? Whether or not you get enough exercise? Like, these are the kind of things in USA, if you have more money and they're determining upper income above 155, that you could basically do these kind of things. Do you have hobbies? And it shows the bad situation that it is in USA. Because I'm telling you guys the truth. Like, not every country is like the USA. There's some places that have much lower income in USA, but they live much happier lives. It's a very, very different world. And I know it's hard to go through this stuff every day with you guys, because it seems so strange when I mention this stuff. Because this is some of the things that people give up. It's a trade-off. Like we talked about before, actually in a live stream talking about Europe, to where maybe salaries are a little bit lower in Europe, but happiness levels are way, way up, right? Many happy countries in Europe, and you guys can write, in the comments which countries you think are the most happiest. But I'm just saying, there is something to be said to where money is not everything, right? If you create a system that benefits everyone, it benefits all of us, right? And then when you look to the U.S. market, they're basically spreading this AI culture stuff. For real. It's like, this is where we're at. AI valuation fears grip global investors as tech bubble concerns grow. Okay? So what do I mean by AI culture stuff? The idea that we don't really want to associate with fellow people anymore. And in fact, companies are like, you know what? Let's just get rid of as many people as we can. Let's just deal with robots and automation and just replace everyone. And this, replacement, like this thing that happened where we're trying to get rid of relationships and people, is deeply concerning. And when you're talking about bubble, it's basically like everything that's driving the markets is like the promise that you're all going to make a bunch more money if you just get rid of the workers. But there's no way this is sustainable. I keep telling you guys over and over again, we're a consumer-based economy. And then the thing that's so crazy about it is that you have other countries, this is just a reality, they actually want to emulate the U.S. system of all things. And, some people got this sort of in their mind, and it depends who you ask, right? There's different versions of USA. If you just watch the movies, you think, oh my God, look at all this awesomeness in USA all the time. But then when you actually, watch movies, then you actually get to USA, wow, it's very different than the movies. and for those of you who live in USA, you totally know that, right? The other issue as well is, will they finally wake up and realize, wow, it's just not going to work out? Because as the AI bubble pops, meaning that all this investment that you've been throwing after this supposed AI, boom, maybe it's not going to pay off. But I'm a bit worried though, because I just saw this today. This is the headline. EU set to water down landmark AI Act after big tech pressure, right? So they're getting pressure over there to try to keep up with China, keep up with the USA, because I guess that's where the only economic activity is buying a bunch of AI chips and whatever, building data centers. But again, the end goal is to replace you. And my big concern with all this stuff is, can't just everyone see that a lot of it is fraudulent? It's like obvious. So for example, we talked about this yesterday. Elon Musk celebrates 1 trillion Tesla pay vote victory, right? He's all celebrating. He's so happy that they're going to get tons of cash, right? Look at this guy. Let me read a few of the quotes of this thing. And this sort of, along with the Trump photo that I showed you guys earlier, represents how ludicrous our timeline is. Okay, listen to this. On a stage lit by neon blue and purple lights in front of a screen with the graffiti-styled slogan, quote, sustainable abundance, right? That was their slogan for their talk, sustainable abundance. Musk danced to techno music, joined by a pair of boogieing optimist humanoid robots. And here's a quote from Musk. With AI and robotics, you can actually increase the global economy by a factor of 10 or 100. There's not like an obvious limit. And every time I read stuff that Musk says or even see Musk, it's so obviously a scam. And that's what's going on in the world is the same as the Trump stuff. There's people who are clearly pulling a scam. There's people who fall for the scam. There's people then who obviously know it's a scam because they're not stupid. I know it's a scam. You know it's a scam. But everyone has to make a choice okay, is it worth selling my soul to cheat a bunch of other people? Some people say yes. And in fact, a lot of those people hang out with Musk and hang out with Trump. But not everyone necessarily like that because, again, this is not sustainable. You literally have people falling down in the Trump administration. Here's more. Just listen to stuff that Musk is promising. He outlined his vision of a future run by artificial intelligence and filled with self-driving vehicles and a, quote, army of Tesla robots that could perform surgery better than humans and, quote, eliminate poverty. That's what Musk is promising. Here's another quote. It's going to be the biggest product of all time by far. Talking about humanoid robots. Optimus is a kind of like an infinite money glitch, right? He's claiming you're just going to be so rich. Infinite money glitch. I guess what I'm saying is hang on to your Tesla stock. It is completely a stock pump. So while that's going on with this AI hype, Musk pumping, right, getting his $1 trillion pay package, you got real concerns of the Fed right now that there's not enough liquidity in the system. This is honestly setting us up for a total disaster. Now, there's a couple ways that this could play out. So one is the Fed's like, okay, unemployment is so bad, we better start printing. We need to get interest rates low. Let's make sure that everyone has the liquidity. Let's make sure people can start borrowing again. Let's get the engine, the U.S. engine going. But I think if that does indeed happen, you're going to have massive inflation. I really think so. And put together with Trump's policies, and I know midterms are coming, but man, Trump's still got enough time to try to destroy things as much as he can. I think you're in a real world of hurt. And in these times, basically, the talk all over the place has been, K-shaped economy or K-shaped recovery, however you want to call it. But basically, think of the letter K. Some people go up, right, which is just going to be the Musks and stuff like that. And the rest of us are going to go down. And that's in terms of our financial situation, economics, etc. And when you look at this kind of stuff, and I always show you guys this stuff, this is in Market Watch. It just shows you what regular people are talking about. Here's a problem of what people have these days. Quote, we can't afford to buy a house. Cannot, right? We can't afford to buy a house. My husband and I are building a house on my mother-in-law's land. Are we asking for trouble? Yes, of course you are. Of course you're asking for trouble, right? But I understand the sentiment that they're getting at. They're just like, well, when my husband's mom, passes away, we're going to eventually get the land, so we might as well just move there now. But it's just like you're asking for a world to hurt. And they're saying, the average cost, and this is in Washington State, of a home is like $600,000, which everything's expensive these days. So from a financial standpoint, maybe it kind of makes sense, but there's so many problems. I'm sure you guys know this already. You're building a house on someone else's plot. And yes, it is your mom, but this is where we're at. And then you got Elon Musk saying, hey everyone, I'm getting that $1 trillion. We're going to all have robot buddies, etc. And then I look over at like private data, which we should have public, government data, but we don't, saying that job cuts are the worst in 22 years. I just don't see this ending well. So my point of view on this stuff, I think storm clouds are brewing. It's been like this for a while. And the question is, as the overriding theme of the video today is, how bad is it going to get? So that's my thoughts, everyone. I'd like to hear yours, and I'll catch you on the next video.